Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Warrior Arts Renaissance Show, where you give us hard questions and we give you solid answers. I am your host, Dr. Philip Payne. I want to start off by apologizing for the quality of the audio on last week's episode. I didn't catch it. It was pointed out to me by a listener that there was a portion, I would say probably about a third of what I said in that about 20 minutes that just could not be heard. For whatever reason, it wasn't picked up by the microphone. We are experimenting with some new recording technology. When I say new technology, not newly developed, but new to us. It's somewhat complicated, the production process. In the end, it should be allow us to put out better quality recordings. But for right now, as we're still working through the ins and outs of it and figuring out what works and what doesn't work, we're just learning as we go. So bear with us. Hopefully, the audio of this week's episode will be better than last week's. We do believe we've figured out what went wrong, but we won't really know until we listen to this one and get it processed. Or get it processed and then listen to it. So this week's topic is, it comes from one question, and I've had this question for years. Well, we're going to get kind of into a broad area about something, but the question is, Philip, why do you constantly post, and this is a reference to social media, Philip, why do you constantly post pictures of missing and exploited children? What's that about? And so I'll tell you the answer, the short answer that I've been giving for years, and then we're going to jump into how that relates to martial arts. But the answer that I give when most people ask me, Philip, why do you constantly post pictures of missing and exploited children, is frankly because there are still missing and exploited children. Okay, this is a topic that is very dear to my heart. I know that the Stop Human Trafficking, Stop Child Sex Slavery thing is really big right now. And so there are probably people, when this was written in, I've had a couple of people in the last few weeks write in who have been, they find the podcast and then they go look me up and they find my social media and they're looking at everything that I post. And I know there seem to be people who think that I'm just in the fad, so to speak. Okay, it's the thing to do right now. And it is the thing to do right now because people are waking up to how serious of a problem this is. But I've been doing that for years. I've been getting that question for years. My wife and I, we have been so passionate. I have been about stopping human trafficking that I've actually been involved in some tracking, skip tracing, recovery, retrieval of missing persons over the years. That's a more in-depth thing. But we started a foundation eventually called the Ezra Foundation because I was getting phone calls. I was finding out that police officers, police departments all over the country simply weren't well trained in what I had kind of learned accidentally how to do. And again, that's a long story. Probably take a whole other episode to tell it, how I got involved in that. But the fact of the matter is, there were officers all over this country who were lacking the knowledge and the training. And so I started going and I started providing to some degree that training where I was able. So now there are some things I don't know how to do. And when I don't know how to do it, I very plainly say I don't know. But how does this tie into martial arts? That's the question that really piqued my interest. And they're like, okay, everything else you do is on social media seems to be about martial arts, but then you get this, and that's really not true. I mean, if you follow my page at all, one of my questions a few weeks ago was where I stood on some things politically, and I wrote back to the guy and I told him, I said, all you have to do is follow my social media, okay? Because it's not just missing and exploited children. It's not just human trafficking. I have a lot of political stuff on my social media, and I try not to get political here on the show, but the pandemic and I'm not using that word lightly. I'm using it because it's been used so much in reference to COVID. I want to point out that more people vanish from the planet, just no trace of them, and disappear and are never seen again, and go into some sort of slavery, go into some sort of sex trade or what have you. More people disappear monthly from the face of this earth because of that than what have disappeared from COVID this entire year. And nobody wanted to talk about it until about a month ago. Now it's the big thing. I hope, I pray that the people who are getting on board, that they're serious about this, and that this isn't just going to be the in fad thing. Okay, I hope and I pray that what we're seeing here really is people waking up, and that a month or two from now we're not going to see all of that disappear. Okay, we need the awareness. We also need people to go in and save these kids. And I know what you're probably thinking: isn't that the job of law enforcement? Law enforcement is not well funded enough. I know everybody out there, not everybody, a lot of people out there are saying defund the police. Law enforcement today is not well funded enough to properly do this, okay? And so they need eyes and ears. And I'm not talking about a lone gunman, so to speak. I'm not talking about a lone vigilante going out and rescuing these kids once in a while, or adults too. Once in a while that ends up happening, but usually what I'm talking about is having your eyes open, knowing what to look for, knowing what the signs of human trafficking are, and being brave enough, okay, and equipped enough to collect the right information and turn it over to law enforcement so that they can do their job. Okay, so often law enforcement is impeded from doing what they need to do on rescuing children or rescuing anybody, okay, simply because they don't have enough information to get the warrants that they need. And it's a travesty, that this happens. Again, the question was, what does this have to do with martial arts? It has everything to do with martial arts. Okay? Martial arts isn't just about your safety as a practitioner. It's not just about your home defense as an individual. Okay? Martial arts is about the safety of everyone around you, everyone you love, everyone you care about, your family, your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors. Okay, martial arts is about not just ensuring your own safety, but providing for the safety of others. It always has been. Soldiers usually don't fight alone and never have. You move in a unit, okay, or you act tactically with other members of your unit, okay. Home defense isn't always just one person meeting the perpetrator at the door, okay. A family should train in as a group in self-defense. We as a society need to be putting on that warrior heart. And martial artists especially need to have that warrior heart that says, when I see someone else in danger, when I see someone else being manipulated, being controlled, being trafficked by definition, I am either going to step in if I can and provide that person an escape, which can be as simple as, hey, are you in a bad situation? You don't have to be. Get in my car and I'll drive you out of here. Okay. Or it can be as complex as, are you in a bad situation? Oh, wow, that sounds really bad. Give me all the information and I will talk to the police, and something will be done. Okay. Okay. It's two ends of the spectrum of how to deal with it. And it depends upon the situation. Never would I would never say, okay, well, as soon as you see somebody that's in that bad situation, that talking about trafficking situation, that you should go and interfere. Okay, you got to be wise about it. You got to be smart about it. Martial arts should be teaching you that too. Should be teaching you how to assess a situation for safety and danger, and how to come up with a plan, and then of how to deal with the situation, and a plan to back up that plan, and a plan to back up that plan. We survive on contingency plans quite often in a bad situation like that. Um, why do why does all the funding, I guess I should, all the proceeds from this show go to the Ezra Foundation? That's the foundation I was talking about that we started because I'm so passionate about this, and I have been for decades. Okay, what that foundation does is, if a person, an officer, a group of officers, doesn't even have to be officers, if someone, some group somewhere wants to learn how to deal with something pertaining to human trafficking, how to prevent it, how to recognize it when it's happening, how to help people who are stuck in that situation without breaking laws in the process, and without getting yourself killed in the process or them. I'm available to do that. I've been doing it for years, but a lot of times I have requests for that kind of training, and the person or the group don't really have the money to pay for my airplane ticket to fly to wherever they are, or to pay for my lodging while I stay for several days or a week and give classes on this. They don't have the resources that they need. They're resourced out, so to speak. And so what the Ezra Foundation does is it takes the proceeds from this show and from other sources, and it collects them. And when I get that phone call and someone says, we really need this kind of training for this group, or whatever the situation is, but we don't have the money to get you to here, I say, that's okay. All right, you show me that you really can't get this. And I've even done it before without being shown. I've just taken people's word for it. But usually we're like, okay, tell us why you need this but can't afford it. I think everybody needs it, but you tell us why you can't afford the cost. And we have an option to have it paid for. Um, the Ezra Foundation pays for more of that each year now, since it's been founded, than what people pay for their training on their own. Okay, so that's what that's about. If I had my way, every law-abiding citizen would have a handful of things. They would have serious combative training, empty-handed. They would have serious combative training, learning how to defend against a knife, use it if you're able to take it from the guy. They would own a firearm, and they would be trained in how to use it. And they would have training in how to prevent, identify, and intercede in the midst of human trafficking. That would be my vision for society, and we would be a much safer place if everybody had those things. But that's not the case, and so we're almost out of time. And I hope I've sufficiently answered the question of what does the Ezra Foundation and what does martial arts and all the human trafficking awareness that I do have to do with each other. If not, somebody please, send me questions. This is one of my, like I said, I'm passionate about. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about and to educate people about. And I'd be glad to spend some more time on it if those questions are sent in. That's all the time we have for this week. Take care, and I'll talk at you next week.